It's Autism Awareness Month, and in this episode, it's all about stepping into Matt's mind, which, fair warning, is a fascinating place. We talk about everything from how his brain works, organizes tasks, to what it's like navigating social situations. The rest of us take an online autistic quiz to see where we score. Spoilers, Scott and I may think about getting tested. So, take a moment to listen to how a neurodivergent individual deals with certain different situations.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, happy whatever day it is, and welcome to No Prep, No Problem, our
Ooh.
podcast where we pretty much don't prep anything, but it's not a problem because we are all really great at improv. Today I'm going to host the topic, and given that it's World Autism Awareness Day and Autism Awareness Month is around the time that this episode will be coming out. Today's topic is autism, but I'm going to also expand it to just how our minds work in general. Because I myself have high functioning autism, but our other two hosts here do not have autism. But so maybe how your minds work, what makes your mind tick, what do you think, not think about, and all that. So I'll jump real quick, just real briefly into my autism story, and then we can kind of revolve around the door from there. But I'm Matthew Harry, and I have high functioning autism, and I have a very unique form of autism. I like to call it neurotism because I feel like I'm half neurotypical, half autistic. So it's like I'm some of both. And I've actually, autism is a grand spectrum of there's all sorts of different levels of functionality and what you can do and not do, etc. But for me, I used to be on the much lower functioning form of the scale when I was in elementary, middle, high school. And then you fast forward all the way to now, and I'm getting ready to become a supervisor, and I'm getting ready to learn how to drive finally, and all these things that I used to never be able to do many years ago, I can now do, which is very exciting. So yeah, it's a whole spectrum for me, but I'm now more on the high functioning end. And it's a very, very, very unique perspective. Here's my first question. Scott, you don't really know me all that well yet, but Daniel, you've known me for 20 years, and you've literally watched my brain evolve from where it used to be to where it is now. So from your perspective, I have lots of people in my life that yes, they know I have autism, or yes, they also think that I have autism, but you have sometimes said that you don't even think I have autism. So from your perspective, where do you think I sit now and where my brain used to be? And do you actually think I have autism or not?
I just think you're a weird dude. Overarchingly, that's it. Your autism is such a minor thing compared to what I've seen other autistics be like. It's just okay, you come in and you're like, you get really excited and really hyper focused on this one thing, but at the same time, you can come into a conversation and just be part of the conversation no matter what. So it's never really felt like you're autistic. The only times that I've really noticed it is I'll be having a conversation with someone else, and you'll walk in and all of a sudden you'll start talking about a light bulb or something. And it's we're talking about, what happened at work last week, or we'll be talking about I don't know, the political landscape, and then Matt pops up. You want to see this light bulb I got? It's so cool. And I'm like, what does that have to do with the conversation at hand? What conversation? A clue.
To be fair, I'm like that too,
I mean, a lot of people are. A lot of people just walk in, not know what the conversation is, and just try to steer it towards something that they know or have any kind of knowledge towards. So even that didn't seem that odd. But I mean, I've known him since we were, 11? And it's
14.
Sure, 14. Yeah, you're right. Not middle school, high school. And so it's I met Matt when he was 14. It's all right, you're right. Wow, that is 20 years.
Dude, it's our 20th anniversary this year, because it's I met when we were 14, now we're 34.
Yep.
So happy 20 years, buddy.
No, babe.
We should go on a trip.
We can figure that out. But yeah, so overall, No, when I first met you, I'm just like, this kid's a little weird, but whatever. I didn't realize you had autism because even 20 years ago, autism wasn't talked about. And the only people that you like really saw with like autism were like fully like way off into the spectrum. And they were the ones who you were like, that person's autistic. And because they were non-functioning in some way, shape, or form. When, people started talking about more of it being of spectrum, right, over the last 20 years, it became more
Right.
widely accepted. And I, for one, appreciate that. But I've always tried to treat Matt like a normal person and not like someone who has autism because why? He's no different than Matt has always been. It just now has a name behind it.
Well, I, for one, actually wanted to thank you for that because I appreciate that you treat me as though I don't have autism and that I'm just, like all the rest of your friends. And I think that's great. But what's interesting from your perspective, Daniel, is like I always tell people I was the most non-functional in high school, which is true with quotes around it. True, I was the most least not functional in high school. But I will say, before I met you, Daniel, I had a lot of snapping, repetitive motions I couldn't stop. I would roll my head all the time and couldn't stop that. And I had another few tics that only I ever did in elementary and middle school. And I would hold my hands like this. I would hold my hands and like shake my hands like this. So I did a few other tics and things in elementary and middle school only that by the time I hit high school, my brain did somehow, however, evolve past them. But still, as far as like, I would say with autism, at least with my brain, there's like, the part of your brain that like connects your consciousness to your body.
Sure.
Like mine was very, very, very glitchy and not really working all that much in high school. So for about 50% of my entire high school experience, I literally was not in the room at all, period. And I was basically a physical body on autopilot, and my brain was kind of driving my body, and I
Again,
wasn't.
you
So
were just the
yeah,
weird kid for a while. It was fine.
yeah,
We all enjoyed hanging out with you, and you always had something to add to the conversation. But now the real
yeah.
question is, Scott, did you know he had autism?
No, I never would have guessed that you did.
Yep.
I mean, you
And
seem
that, yeah.
completely normal. I always thought that I always thought if we told a random viewer that one of us on here has autism and we didn't tell them which one, and they watched an episode, that they probably assume it was me before you. Um, I mean, you know what I mean? Like you seem completely normal. I haven't noticed any like tics or anything. Now I think I'm gonna like this episode because I don't know a lot about autism. It's something I've always meant to kind of study up on, and I know it's a spectrum. But hoping to learn something here in this episode. So that's pretty
Oh
cool.
yeah, it's funny when I introduce myself to people, my phrase that I use for myself is that I'm the living bridge between the two worlds of autism, and that a lot of parents of kids that have autism love talking to me because I can help them understand their child better. Because I have had in my past years a lot more of the autistic tics and habits and things that autistic minds think about, et cetera, et cetera. And yet also I have grown past a lot of it to where I am things like I'm just getting ready to start a supervisor. I'm just now learning how to drive again. Dating was a challenge in the early years. Dating now, I haven't dated in a few years, but I will say that I've made a mess load amount of strides in the dating world in recent years, than I had in past years. So like I've gotten to where I feel like when I was talking about my consciousness was half of my body thing earlier, like nowadays, like I'm 100% on, like 100% on all the time now, whereas I wasn't before. That interestingly enough was caused by two events of being bit by a copperhead snake when I was 20 and
All
almost
back.
dying, and then almost dying of 50 bee stings while I was on top of a 15-story waterfall. And those two venom
Episode
experiences,
2.
episode 2, yeah, rewind back to episode 2, and then you can come back over here. That's the coda right here. But no, so what happened was, I don't know if it was the venom or maybe the anti-venom, the crofab, and the thing. Somewhere along the lines of having all this venom exposure, somehow like forced the parts of the brain that never grew before, like, to grow or something. Now, I'm not saying that anyone should be like, oh, like, here's my autism. I'm gonna get bit by a snake now. No,
Or it could have
don't
just
do
been
that.
your age because your brain isn't fully developed until you're like 26 or something.
It's true, and it could have also just been my age, and it could have also just been all of my life's experiences since then. But I will notice that, like, when I had, like, after each experience for a short amount of time after, like, I felt a little bit differently from my brain's perspective. Um, but yeah, I mean, after all of everything that I've been through now, like, yes, I come across as normal, even though I've never met a normal person in my life. But yes, normal or neurotypical. That just might be a little bit odd versus having autism. And yes, almost no one knows that that I have it, because I guess either I masked it very well, or yeah, I just don't have much of autism left in me. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder how that works. But yeah, you seem completely like I don't think most people would assume that you were. Like that would be I think it would be a shock. But yeah, I wonder if it's over the years if maybe you just find ways to cope with certain things better. Like I know you said you used to have like the tics, and it's like why do those go away? Do you like I don't know, it's just so interesting.
What Daniel just said, that your brain doesn't finish developing until, like, yeah, you're in your mid-20s. So I still had the tics because the parts of the brain that were behind in developing, whereas, like, by say 10 years old, my brain would be way fine and not do any of those, but my brain hadn't developed to the point. Maybe my brain was only a 5-year-old brain at 10 years old, and maybe I was only a 10-year-old brain at 15 years old. Does that make sense? So the brain
Yeah.
took longer to develop. So because the brain took longer to develop in my younger years, I had all of those tics and all of those things. But then, yeah, once it took a while, I would say, like, I knew, like, ever since I was 18, I've always wanted to have my own place. And at 34, I'm finally going to be moving into my own place, hopefully by the end of this year, which is a very exciting new adventure for me. But I will say that from my own personal inner knowing, I was not ready to live on my own until I was 25. Like, I wanted to have my own place at 18. Was I ready to live independently and fully take care of myself? No. I mean, yes, I could, bathe and brush my teeth and eat, and all my daily things are fine. But, like, what to do if you have an emergency, and, like, remembering to pay your electric bill, all the things you have to do as an adult to take care of yourself and your apartment, your place, and work and jobs and things, and transporting yourself to work, all these types of things. I wasn't ready. Like, I knew that I wasn't ready till I was 25. And I did my retreat center job for 6 months. And I came back after that experience, and I had lived by myself independently in a little dorm room for 6 months. And I felt that I was very comfortable at the end of that experience. I was like, okay, now at 25, now I'm ready. And it's totally fine for autism to take longer to drive or work a job or try to do college, or any of these normal life things. Sometimes with people with autism, or just neurodivergent individuals in general, it just might take you longer to do these things, and that's totally fine.
Right.
Yeah, for any listeners out there that might, be neurodivergent, be like, oh, I've never been able to do college because of X and Y, Z reason, or, driving is a very, very big challenge, which, gosh, yeah, driving's a whole nother thing for me.
No, I mean, I think it's tough for everyone at the beginning anyway. I mean, we've got like what is it? Some people were like 14 years old driving. I'm like, man, that's like way too young. Like that's crazy, dude.
I agree.
You know?
Like, I feel like 18 should be, because 18, in my opinion, is when you're supposed to get your license, because, like, between 16 and 18, there's this really weird thing where it's like, you're not an adult yet, so you're not fully responsible for your actions yet. But, like,
Yeah.
at 16, you could still get in a wreck and kill somebody, which then now it's on the parents, not you, even though you did the bad thing in the car and, whatever, and you weren't paying attention because you were texting or whatnot, and then you hit somebody. That's I feel like if you're driving a car, that's something that only an adult should do.
Yeah, agreed. I always thought 18 would be pretty fair. But then now being 34, looking back at 18, like, dude, 18, you're just a kid too, you know? Like
Yeah.
it's wild.
Yeah, maybe we should make an adult being 21 because yeah, I mean a lot of 18 to 20 kids, yeah, they still act like they're kids and they're not quite as responsible. Um,
You can't do anything else till you're 21 anyway, so why not? Why not?
yes,
It'd
make
make
an oh
things
yes,
more
yeah,
difficult, but
sure. Let's just make no drinking and no driving and no being an adult all till we're 21. Let's
21, push it
Oh
back.
let
man,
let's
if we push
let's
everything back though, like you'd never do anything. Like
Right.
what's the
That's the tough
expectation? You would
part.
just sit at home and game or something?
yeah,
I'd
I mean
probably
I
be doing
guess
that
so.
anyway.
Yeah, that probably would be very hard on the parents. I will say though that age is also something very unique and interesting for me because like I don't know, I feel like in my very early 20s in my brain on the inside and I'm very youthful because of that. And yes, me and Daniel have talked about like, oh, but my pursuits and everything, I like all, the Marvel movies and Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and things that's like, oh, when you're like 20, like you like and stuff and everything. Like I could build a Lego fortress right now and like not be bored. And it's like, oh, playing with Legos, that's what kids do. It's like, but no, it's Danny, you said it so perfectly when you've talked about me before that the thing you say about it's okay, everyone has unique interests and everything. It doesn't matter. Like
Hmm.
help me.
Well, I mean, the way that you've always interacted with others is like you tend to talk about things you want to talk about. Okay. And while you don't understand the situation that other people are like getting bored or whatnot because of whatever body language or just the social cues they give off, you have learned over the years, hey, wait, this person is no longer looking at me, they're no longer paying attention. And then you don't necessarily like stop what you're saying, but you tend to change in the way in which you're talking. So I've always found that interesting that you've grown in that
Change
way.
in the which way of which I'm talking. I try to look out for it now because see the problem is when I do things like that in the past and people tell me these problems, I then know, oh, these are the problems that I have. And then going forward, I try to stay focused.
Hmm.
And if someone then, starts a new conversation or whatever, then I then follow their new conversation and I don't stay stuck in still talking about that Marvel movie I saw last week and that's all I talk about.
So I have a question.
Ooh.
We know that you've been diagnosed with it, but Scott, if you think that other people might think that you have autism, have you ever taken any kind of test or anything for it? Like one
Nope.
of the online
No,
quizzes?
never have. If I had to guess, I think I have some kind of like maybe ADD, ADHD kind of thing. Because my biggest thing is not being able to stay focused. It's weird. I can stay focused on certain things all day long, but then other things, it's just you know it's tough for me to keep it going. So if I had to guess, I'd say it was probably something like that. So no, I'm not. When I said earlier, I'm not saying I think I have it. I was saying that I feel like most people would assume that out of the three of us that I would have it more,
So I found a
just
website
because.
called exceptionalindividuals.com, and they actually have
Ooh.
a little test, a little quiz, and they're like, hey, like this is not a diagnosis, but it will let you know if you have tendencies of someone who, is autistic. So I've been clicking through reading it real quick just because I've been curious. And I'm about 2/3 of the way through it myself. So I'm gonna finish this up real quick, but then I want to know like
Okay.
what it says, as well as if you guys want to take it too to see like what you think. Um,
Okay.
because
Now,
it's all it is agree, disagree, or kind of like in the middle. So
yes,
Okay.
what were
I've
you gonna say?
taken quizzes like these before.
Yeah, and
Yes,
what
I
have they said
remember
about
these.
you?
Um, the I think I've taken a couple of them, and most of them did say that I have some autistic tendencies that I'm more autistic. What I'm looking forward to, and Scott, I also have a question for you, but to get this thought out of my brain, what I've wanted to be in recent years, and maybe this could actually happen. I don't know, but I want to do everything I can to fully evolve past autism and then go to the doctor and get like a neurotypical diagnosis and then like hang in my room on the left my original diagnosis from when I was 9 and 10 years old in 2000 and my new one, and like I've done like the full story arc and then fully like evolved my brain just past it. But yeah, no. So Scott, you said you have some things that you can focus on, some things you can't focus on. Name me one thing that you can like super focus on, and then one thing that just like I cannot focus on that. While we finish that quiz.
I would say, and this is probably why, like super, like things I'm super interested in. You know, Pokemon, sports, things like that, you know. And then what I find tough is like, for instance, like if I read, like I know when I was a kid and when I was reading books, dude, I would have to reread the same line 3 times to actually like take it all in. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I think a big thing is because I am thinking about the next thing I'm gonna do before I have the current thing I'm taking care of. Taking care of, you
Always
know.
thinking ahead.
Always thinking
Always
ahead,
thinking ahead.
which is a good thing, but I think I do it to the point where it's not beneficial. It's actually, you know, hurtful.
That is correct. I also do that because what's interesting about me is so what happened was I was born premature. I was born a month premature, and I was deoxygenated at birth. I was not getting enough oxygen, so certain parts of my brain died off, and then to make up for it, as my brain developed, my brain hyperdeveloped the parts of the brain that were still there. So the parts of my brain that died off are reading and math comprehension are not there. They just were not there. On the opposite end, my memorization center skyrocketed. And so like my memorization's off the roof, but my reading comprehension and math comprehension is very, very low. So I too, reading was very, very hard. I read the first Harry Potter book. I read the first 2 Harry Potter books when I was 9 and 10 years old, when Harry Potter was like all the rave. And then my brain just stopped and I couldn't read anymore. And then 20 years go by, and now I can read again somehow. So I reread the first Harry Potter book, and I reread Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief, and I'm now on the second book, The Sea of Monsters, now. And so, like, now my brain can read now, but like middle school grade level, nothing higher than that, but it still can read.
So I have a score.
He has the score.
My score is 28. And it says, understanding your score. 0 to 11 is you have few to no autistic traits. 11 to 24 is you may have some mild autistic traits. And 25 to 50 is there is a high likelihood of significant autistic traits. But I do not agree with my score simply because it was agree, disagree, or kind of in the middle, right? So I can either read you guys the questions or you guys can take it for yourself. Which would you rather do?
Yeah, read them, because that way the listeners can listen in on the questions. They can think about it for themselves as well.
So I prefer sticking to a specific routine or schedule in my daily life. And remember, these are always agree, disagree, or somewhat agree. Now, me personally, I like sticking to a schedule. I like routines.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So I strongly agree with that.
Me too.
All right.
Yeah.
I find it challenging to understand the emotions and intentions of others. Now, for the most part, I don't have an issue with that. But every now and then, like, and maybe it's just because, like, I don't understand the younger generation. But I've been talking to some of these Zoomers, and I don't get myself across, or they're not picking up what I'm putting down, or I don't know. Like, people who are like my age or older, or even like plus or minus 7 years, not a problem. Anything younger than that, though, and I have communication issues a lot of times. So I put this as somewhat agree, because I do find it challenging to understand the emotions and intentions of others. What about you guys?
But I will say though, in your defense, Daniel, you not being able to understand like the younger generation, like things that's, you know, under 7 years younger than us, that's not your fault so much as like the whole Gen Z, their vocabulary is, oh man,
Yeah.
that new Marvel movie is mad lit on God, no cap. Hey, look at my outfit, it's so drippy. Hey, let's go
Skibbity.
rizz up the ladies.
Yeah, skip it. I
Yeah,
do
it's
like
just
Riz.
lingo,
Yeah,
right?
it's just this whole vernacular that's just, you can't understand it. Like, you literally would have had to have grown up with their vernacular and be their age to understand. So, like, it's not your fault if you don't understand the younger generation, because they are,
I mean, that's true,
I
but at the
know
same
some of
time,
them, and they are a unique trip.
there
Yeah,
are lots
like
of people who keep up with the vernacular of the younger youths.
I mean, I
well,
just said it all, so yeah, I mean, I'm keeping up with it. It's
so
fascinating
you
to
can
study, but
communicate.
Yeah, just be
Well,
able to
think about
communicate.
the people that came up with cool, like whenever that came out.
came up with what?
The word cool, like we
The
use it
word
all the time. Oh,
cool.
that's cool, whatever. Like it had to, someone had to start it at some
And that
point.
changes over the
You guys
decades. And
remember the bomb?
Things change. Yeah, right,
The
exactly.
bomb.
Just
That
like
was the
that, like
bomb.
bomb. And then people were
it
like, that
goes
was
in
the
and out of
bomb.com.
right.
Oh yeah, that hot girl, she's pretty fly.
Pretty fly
Yeah.
for a white guy. But anyways.
But
So yeah, like,
yeah,
language changes. So it does make it
yes,
hard to understand, but like I think specifically with this, they're talking about like the actual emotions behind, the communication with
yes.
other people.
And to spin back to that,
Yeah.
Daniel, in what you just said, that question, the agree, disagree, or somewhere in the middle. If I were to answer that question in high school, I would absolutely agree. I would have absolutely no emotional awareness of anyone else's emotions at all whatsoever. Today, though, I would just put somewhat agree, because I've now learned over the years to be more conscious and more aware, and like my head is now full on tech, and I really listen to people now, and so like I can sometimes fully link into someone's emotions. Man, it sounds like they're talking about a really hard thing that happened to them in their life, and I'm being emotionally supportive and I'm listening to them, etc., etc. But other times I still might miss some things.
Right. So you're kind of like Sheldon that way.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm more Sheldon. I'm very, for those who hopefully who are listening who have seen The Big Bang Theory, in my personal opinion, the character has autism, and I'm really kind of upset with the show that they just didn't say in the show that he has autism, because then I feel like you then could have like really just explored that more with the character, and I just
Sure.
feel like we were missing out on all these really great scenes we could have had with Sheldon.
His mother had him
If
tested, but they
someone
never
had
said what
just,
he was tested for.
that's true.
Right.
He just said,
Right.
"Yeah, my mother had me tested, but tested
Mhm.
for what?" Like they just left it very open ended.
Right. All right, back to this. All right.
Yes.
Let's see. I tend to have intense interests or hobbies that I dedicate a lot of time to. Now, I have hobbies and interests that you know, I will sit there and I will pick up a new hobby and I will start it and I will be that is the only thing that consumes my entire life for anywhere from a week to a month. And then I just
Right.
drop it and I will never go back to it. Now, most people will probably say that's more ADD or ADHD than it is autism. But when I like am interested in something, I will sit there and just that's all I want to do. It's all I want to talk about. I don't want to ever do anything else except for talk about that one thing.
Yeah.
So
I've,
I
I've
still
noticed that
put
in you, Daniel.
yeah,
Yeah.
I still put
Absolutely.
I've actually put strongly agree for that one because when I do have an interest or a hobby, it's like that's it. That is the one thing I want to deal with.
Yes, because I've seen you at times when all you've been doing is chainmail, the
Oh.
stuff with the ant artwork, YouTubing, all kinds of things.
Mhm.
But yeah, so it's like you do get very creative and stuff, but that one is a hard question for me, to be honest, because not for me, for everyone, it should be a kind of an odd question, because that's a very general term. And
Well,
so you have hobbies. Like, it's a perfectly natural thing for all human beings to have hobbies. And, at what point, where is the line? At what point do you having a hobby means, oh, that's an autistic trait, and you having a hobby is just like being a human being?
well, I think part of it's in the wording because it definitely says intense interests or hobbies.
Oh, reread it.
I tend to have intense interests or hobbies that I dedicate a lot of time to.
Okay, I missed the word intense. See, I
But
missed the word
even
intense when you
still,
said it.
like for me, I'll sit there and I'll get really into the one thing, and then a month later it doesn't matter to me. It's the least
I'm
thing
the
in my
same
mind.
way. Yep,
Yeah.
same way. I'll go hard on it for, like you said, a week to a month. Then after that, I'm on to something else.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it comes in waves and like phases, if you will. I'm the same way on that. So
My,
I would probably put middle, like the you
So you
know
somewhat agree.
middle
I
answer.
strongly agree, just because of how intense something is. Like, I just downloaded an app for a game that I started playing 4 days ago, and I've been obsessively playing it. I'm not going to talk about it now because that's going to take too much time. But it's like, okay, how come that's all I want to do? That's all I want to talk about was that one thing. And here it is. I know in a month I'm not going to care about it ever again. But right now, that is the only thing I want to do and the only thing I want to talk about. It is
Well, damn.
yeah.
Now I want to know what it is.
We'll talk about it later. It's not.
Okay.
It's
So
not. It's not part of this. We'll keep going with this quiz because we don't want to take up too
I'll
much
say
time.
this, Daniel. If you win, you can give us a 30-second elevator pitch
Oh.
on the game for your 30 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, fair.
So Scott said maybe in the middle. Daniel, you said strongly agree.
Mhm.
For me, I definitely would strongly agree. I actually have something I like to call my projects wheel. And the way that my brain does hobbies, interests, whatever, is I have a projects wheel, and I'm very creative, and I have like 50 different creational projects. And the way I do it is I will work on a project intensely, nonstop. I've done days where I wake up, I have breakfast, I'm on the keyboard writing and creating music for 12 hours straight, skipping through lunch and then having dinner. Like, I'm literally at the keyboard minus bathroom and water breaks for 12 hours making music. And I can be super intense and laser focused on creating that thing. And what I do is I work on a project, or I work on a hobby, or I work on a thing until either it's done or I hit some sort of a roadblock, some sort of a writer's block or something where I get stuck. And I go, okay, I'm stuck on this project. I can no longer work on it at the present time. And then I spin the wheel and I work on a different project. And then I spin the wheel and then I work on a different project. And I keep doing that repetitively until I get stuck or finish it, until I get back to the beginning of the circle. And then something from project number 7 helps me fix the problem I had with project number 1, and then I spin it. And that's how I do mine.
So the next question: I often prefer spending time alone rather than being in social settings. I don't like being alone a whole lot. I would rather be hanging out with my friends and doing stuff with them, right? And yet, I'm a homebody. So while I want to hang out with my friends, I want to do it from the comfort of my home. So I love it. I love it when people come over or when I can just sit here on Discord and play games with them, but I like my home space versus like going out and doing stuff, but I would rather be in a social setting. So I actually put that I disagree with this one because I would rather.
Wait, you disagree outright?
Yes, because it's worded, I often prefer spending time alone rather than being in a social setting. I disagree with that. There are other
That's
questions
true.
later.
You
I
prefer
spending
to.
time with
There we
others
go.
in a
You
social setting.
prefer.
Mhm.
Correct. Okay, now
So I
that does
disagree
make
with
more
that
sense.
one. What about you, Scott?
I'm gonna go right in the middle just because I am a very social guy. I love doing things, being around people. I really do. But I also do like a portion of my day to uh where I get my alone time. Like so ever since COVID, I haven't been out doing as much as I um normally would. Like I was out super social before COVID, then that happened, and then after that, now with my work schedule, that's a big kind of thing too, having to be up so early in the morning. Um, so I'm very social. I love being around people, but then I also do like 2 or 3 hours of alone time a day. You know what I mean? Like just being able to chill, do whatever I want, don't have to think about anything, just laying on the couch or playing a game, whatever the case is, something where my mind doesn't have to work so much, because I think with me, I I overthink things, and I think I just like get burnt out mentally because I'm just constantly thinking about stuff, which kind of goes back to what I said earlier about the rereading. I'm always thinking about something else, so I'm not able to retain the information that I'm currently dealing with, you know? So,
Okay.
yeah, I'd go
And
right in
Okay.
the middle there.
what about you, Matt? Are you do you disagree, somewhat agree, or strongly agree that you prefer spending time alone rather than being in social settings?
How can I say it this way? I am not an ambivert, which, for those who don't know, is that you're half extroverted and half introverted,
I
etc.
am. I'm
What?
an ambivert.
Wait. You're an ambivert?
I'm an ambivert, yeah.
Okay, so ambivert, and then Scott, you sounded like maybe you could have been maybe some sort of an ambivert
Yeah.
before COVID, but now after COVID, you're saying now you're much more introverted. Is that? Did I process your story correctly?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to be more extroverted, but yeah, like I said, I think a big thing now is like work schedule, and by the time people are ready to hang out, it's like, okay, well, I can't because I got to get to sleep because I work early. That I think is a big part of it. But yeah, yeah, ever since COVID, yeah, I would agree with that. Yes.
Okay, because then for me, I'm going to say it this way: I'm not an ambivert. The way I explain myself is I am a very introverted extrovert because mainly I'm a social butterfly. No, in fact, I'm a social jet. I love talking to people, hanging out with people, video chats with people, constantly being social on chatting all my friends on Facebook and video chats and hangouts and all that. Love hanging out with people, hanging out with my friends, as I'm a friendships oriented person. Uh, However, I also love being in my room with the door closed on my keyboard for 12 hours making music. But if I had to pick one, I mean, I lean more of I am an extrovert archetype, if you will.
So you'd
But
rather be in a
of
social
all the
setting.
yes, but of all the extroverted people on the world, I'm more on the more introverted side of those extroverted people.
Sure. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. All right,
You
next
worded that
question.
very well.
I have difficulty adapting to changes in plans or unexpected events.
Ooh, that's tough. That's a
I'm somewhere
tough
in the
one for
middle.
me.
I'm actually somewhere in the
Yeah,
middle. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay, so we
I
all kind of
can
agree on that
adapt.
one.
I
Yeah,
can adapt, but only to an extent,
right?
or depending upon what the situation is.
Okay. All right. So we're all pretty much in agreement because that's what I said too. Is that yeah, right in the middle. Like
I feel like I'm going to answer most of these questions in the middle just because some things are it's all dependent. Like you might ask me this question today and I'll answer it this way. Then tomorrow I might answer it a different way. It all depends. You know what I mean? It's kind of I don't know.
hmm. I find it challenging to make small talk or engage in casual conversation.
Strongly disagree with that.
Yeah.
Disagree. I love casual conversation. Strong. Yeah, I'm good on
Yeah,
all that.
And
I can
see,
talk to anyone about anything.
it's gotten harder for me over the years. I actually put somewhat agree because as time has gone on, like I can still walk up to someone and just start a conversation, but I find maybe it's that the other person doesn't want to have that interaction because it's like I'll start a conversation. It might just be about the weather, but then it stops after like three words to each other.
Well, yeah, but you got to be willing. Like, if someone approaches you, if you want to keep the conversation going, you have to be willing to put in something too.
Yeah.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
at the same time, like at work, like someone will come up and ask me about a product, and I'll be like, "Oh, it's over here," and then they want to talk to me for 20 more minutes, and I'm like, "No, I don't want to talk to you. Go away." If I wanted to talk to
Yeah.
you, I would have started a conversation with you.
Well, yeah, and then I think that goes back to what was the question one about being able to pick up on those
Social cues.
social
Yeah.
cues of okay, this person's not digging this conversation, or maybe they are, or uh, they're starting to get a little antsy. They need to, we need to stop this conversation,
Hmm.
whatever. So I think everything is so dependent on that. But I know with me personally, I I always try to when I meet new people, I try to find some kind of common ground, even if it's like an episode of Family Guy I mean, I couldn't tell you how many anything. It's anything, and I'm the type of dude where I like a lot of things, and I might not know a ton about these things. I feel like I know a little bit about a lot of stuff, and I think that is very helpful when it comes to finding common ground with some. To me, it's as simple as finding common ground with someone, and then after that, you're not even having to think about these conversations. You don't have to try. It's all effortless, and then you're good. Then that's at least with me. Granted, I have worked in retail my whole life, so I've seen tons of people some people only for a couple months, some people for many years, just so many different people. And I'm always having to, and always being in kind of like a leadership role, I always have to make sure that I talk to everyone. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's not like I can just go without talking to someone. And I love communication. So
Now, there's a
yeah,
couple people that I choose to not talk to. But that's
and that's
okay.
and that's fine. And I bet there's good reason for that. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah,
All right,
that
next question. I'm highly sensitive to sensory stimuli like noises, lights, or textures. Example, you jump when you hear loud noises, or you don't like certain foods because of their texture.
Okay, hold on. But that's not fair. Because I was going to say no. Currently, I no longer have problems with external stimuli and things like that. Except I'm not going to count food in this scenario. I'm thinking of physical touch with like other things. So, for example, when I was in high school, I was in theater, Scott, for more. I did more theater than just about any other kid in our high school's history, and so I did a lot of theater. And so for our first play, they had to put makeup on me because simple foundation and stuff to make to where the lights could not brighten flush my face out so much.
sure, yeah,
And when they first put the makeup on my face, I literally cried my eyes out. I literally could not stand the physical sensation of having it on my face, and I was like yelling at them, crying at them to take it off. And
yeah.
it was really, really bad incident. And it's like I had a lot of that in like high school and in my early days of just like, you know, kissing a woman, just like holding hands. Like this was all like big, like hard things for me to process because the physical external stimuli was too much for my brain to process. So like all that used to be, I couldn't handle that in previous years. Now I literally think nothing of it, and I would put no, except you put food in there. Yes, I still do have the food issue of I only eat the same 10 foods over and over and over again. There's that.
Well, yeah, yeah, but I think shout out to a previous episode. What wasn't a lot of that due to the fact that with the food allergies and whatnot, you kind of have to eat these certain things because you find what works for you. You know what I mean, and you stick to it, kind of thing. Would you say that's the
Yes.
case?
Well, no, because like if I had something as simple as like a tomato, it just feels like a thousand knives going in my brain. Just it hurts so incredibly bad. I cried my eyes out. And what it was until I was 17, literally the only foods I ate was noodles, bread, pancakes, waffles,
Pretzels.
pretzels, chips, and cookies. And then I discovered that my entire life until I was 17, I was eating the one food that I was allergic to. So I just then transferred all my food to gluten-free noodles and cookies and waffles and pancakes, and I just switched everything to gluten-free because it's so yeah. But I still like there are so many foods like that I literally don't eat at all, ever will never eat ever, and I especially don't like it when it's like you go to an Asian restaurant and you get some fancy dish and it's got like rice and vegetables and some meat and some all this stuff all in like a plate, and you eat the whole thing and there's like five different foods like in your mouth. It's like, no, I want like my peas in a bowl and I want my rice in a bowl and I want everything else in a bowl, and it's like separately, and I want to eat each individual item. I'm only eating peas right now, I'm only eating rice right now, I'm only eating quinoa right now, like each individually. I do not like it when you just throw a whole bunch of different foods in your mouth at the same time.
Yeah, I feel like most people would be like that too, though. But then again, maybe that's not the case. You know, who's to say what's normal and what's not? You know,
Right?
so
Yeah,
We're all normal
no
in our own
one.
ways.
Yes,
Um,
right.
correct.
so for me, I still jump at loud noises. I still, don't like certain foods because of textures, but it's just a somewhat agree. It's
Right.
not
Okay.
it's not something that's like it totally disrupts my life. It's something that I can still cope with and I don't have any issues with. Next question. I prefer following a specific order or sequence when performing tasks or activities.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So you strongly agree with having to do stuff in a specific order?
Yes.
Darn it.
And that might be some OCD going on in there too. Who knows?
See, and this is me. I completely zoned out on you. Can you read the question again?
I prefer following a specific order or sequence when performing tasks or activities. You have to
Yes.
agree. There is no way you
Yes.
don't agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously, yes.
Same. Like for me, every day when I get home from work, I go into the kitchen, I clean the kitchen because I don't clean the kitchen at night or after cooking or anything. So that's my first thing I do every morning when I get home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything like that?
Yeah. I've gotten better about it over the years, but I have been terrible about. I check my pockets all the time. I do it in a certain order to make whenever I'm going
To make
somewhere,
sure that
leaving
you
somewhere,
don't
don't
be
forget
changing
anything.
the pockets for your laundry. Yeah.
Yeah,
Headphones,
exactly.
key,
So
phone, wallet.
yeah, exactly. I have a certain order that I do things. I do it. I don't do it as much over the years. I feel like I've calmed down with it, but I still, so I don't do it as many times per day, but I make sure I do it. And, sure, it takes an extra 3 seconds, but guess what? I'm not going to forget my keys somewhere. And, that's going to take another 10 minutes to
Correct.
figure it out and go back. Yeah. So I'm like, I'll take the 3 seconds now. But I do think it over the years became more of like okay, I didn't do this. That's weird. But yeah, like I said, it's I've calmed it down over the years. I don't do it 10 times a day now. It's just a couple. But yeah,
The
something I've
number of
always done.
times I locked my keys in my car at work, I literally had a spare key made and I kept it in the front office. So that way the next time I forgot, I could do that. Cause I had to keep going to the meat department and getting string from them to unlock my car. Cause I had to learn how to break into my car using a string. That was fun.
That's
That's a
wild.
that's a
See, because you
story
always
for another
have,
time.
So
as
I
long as
have
I've known you, you always have something going on up here, Daniel. Like you're thinking, you're doing something, you're talking to people. You're a
Yep.
very, very social guy who's
Like all
always
of us,
doing
you're a
something.
big thinker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I big think,
Yep.
big dumb. That's what I do.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. I tend to take things literally and have difficulty understanding sarcasm or humor. Now, while I do
Somewhere in the
take a
middle.
lot of things literally, I can definitely tell when someone is doing sarcasm or just
Yeah.
trying to be funny. So while I still put somewhat agree on that one, I don't have difficulty understanding the sarcasm. It's just I do take things literally. So if someone, I don't have a good example of it, but it's like, uh, uh, uh no, I don't have a good example of it. I just somewhat agree with that.
I
Yeah.
agree with what you said. So somewhat agree.
I find that a lot of people with autism can be very sarcastic and then they like to lean into sarcasm a lot. But I feel like other times or other people, they literally can't even. There's no barometer for sarcasm. Like they literally take everything literally,
Literally.
and so it can be very
Literally.
challenging for them. I would say me, I'm somewhere in the middle where I stem from it where I do have problems is in the dating world, is in flirting because a lot of flirting can be sarcastic and I miss the fact that them just telling me a simple sarcastic joke was actually them flirting with me.
Yeah. But women
So
are also
that's
Yeah.
confusing,
Same.
so eh.
yes.
Next question. I have a strong attention to detail and notice things that others often miss.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Scott?
So I'm
Yeah.
a detail oriented person, so yes, definitely.
I was
Yes.
working
On
with my
stuff I care about.
I was working with my wife on a construction site once, and her business partner had a vape that he kept just setting down randomly, and he would keep forgetting where it was, and it's like, oh, it's right there, and then like 10 minutes later, he's like, I can't find it. Oh, it's over there, and he's like, he kept looking at me, he's like, how do you know where this is? I'm like, I just paying attention. It's so yeah, I
Yeah.
strongly agree with that. Um, Next question. I find it challenging to navigate and understand social dynamics in groups. I feel like this kind of
Disagree.
depends on the group.
Okay. I assumed it was a group we know. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Well,
put somewhat because
yeah.
it depends on the group.
yeah,
That's what I put down
agreed.
with somewhat because it's like, all right, you walk into a group of all new people, like the first day at a new job,
Yeah.
trying to figure out those social cues and the social dynamics between everybody there. very hard. The first time I moved onto the team I'm on now, it's like, cool. What does everybody think? What is everybody doing? Like, where does everybody belong in the social status, the hierarchy, if you will? It
Yeah.
takes a minute.
But if
It
you go
does.
to your D&D group, all of a sudden you're like, hey, these are my people.
Yeah. Hanging
Right.
out with the best friends, it's like perfect.
Yeah.
Are we all in agreement that it's somewhat agree?
Yes.
Yes.
We all strongly agree that it's somewhat agree.
Yeah. Next question. I prefer having a predictable and structured environment in my daily life.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, okay. We're just gonna move on from that one.
Yeah, we can look at any all yeses or all nos, then we can just keep going. If we hit one that's argumentative, then we can do the argument.
See, now I feel like this one kind of goes back. I have specific routines or rituals that I follow to feel more comfortable.
Yes.
Like,
That's the
yes.
pocket thing.
Yeah.
And yes. Yeah, and that's I myself do the same thing. Oh yeah, before I forget, I do the same thing when I go to the gym. I always have my gym lock and my keys. I hang them on one of the other locker doors. Because if I don't, I might accidentally put my keys in my locker and then go to lock it and then lock my keys in the locker, and then I'm locked out of my locker, the gym. So I always do
Yeah.
that so that I don't get locked out.
Exactly.
Always have
Yeah.
2 keys.
That too.
Yes, always have 2 keys. Next question. I am highly focused on my own thoughts and ideas.
Absolutely.
What? I'm sorry, I was so highly focused on my own thoughts and my own ideas that I missed your question.
Exactly. I'm glad we're all in agreement on that. It's like
yeah.
that one track mind thing. I don't know if you guys actually read the bio I put down for us, but if you didn't, it says 3 friends sharing 1 brain cell.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So that's our
I
1
think
brain
that's fair to
cell.
say.
It just happened to pop off right then.
Right.
I have a strong preference for order and organization in my surroundings.
Yes, I'm a very organized person. I
Scott,
thrive on order and I shut down in chaos.
what about you,
Yes.
Scott?
But
Yeah.
literally when I'm
Yep,
at
I
work,
agree.
I work at a department store, and literally every day I'm like the only guy that does the baskets and the carts and the hangers and the bags and everything. Why? Because I cannot function on a front end that is in a state of disarray. If everything is orderly, I can function. And when
Yeah.
it's not, I can't. So I'm the one doing it because no one else does it. And it's like, but I want to have a functional work environment.
All right, I'm gonna mess up my video for just a moment. But this is my desk with everything on it, gift cards,
Yu-Gi-Oh
Yu-Gi-Oh
cards.
Yu-Gi-Oh
cards! Our
cards, and
callback from the previous episode.
like my
Another
desk.
callback.
Yeah. Oh yes. So my desk. Oh, wrong side. Wrong side. Get it back over there. All right. So my desk is atrocious, right? And this question stumped me for a second because I have a strong preference for order and organization in my surroundings. 100%. The problem is I cannot myself physically maintain any kind of order or organization. It is awful.
Okay.
It is awful. So like I can sit there and I can like when I load the dishwasher, have to have all those plates in a row, have to have all the bowls in a row. If it's just thrown in there, it's chaos and I can't deal with it.
Yeah.
So I put somewhat agree, but you guys are both strongly agree, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, I strongly agree. Like whenever I have things like decorated and all and everything in my own way, like it's super extra decorated and neat and orderly.
So the next question is, I find it difficult to understand and express my emotions effectively. I disagreed with that. I understand my emotions. I understand how to express
Disagree.
them.
I can express my own emotions just fine. It's the other emotions of other people that I can't get.
Man, the more we keep going over this, guys, the more I'm thinking we're all on the spectrum.
We might be, dude.
Again, this is not a diagnosis, but it lets us know
Yes,
there are
Right,
this
tendencies.
is just an examination.
Well, I will say I forget the guy's name. He was
An
either
experiment.
it was a couple years ago. It was either I think he was a basketball player like that retired, but he had a kid, and I think he was like 40 years old. Like I think it was this happened a couple years ago. I think he was like 40 years old. He had a kid, and he got his kid tested for autism, and the kid like, yes, he was autistic, and then that made him start thinking like, oh, maybe I should get tested because I had these same things going on in my life. And sure enough, he was diagnosed with autism at like 40 years old. You know, so very possible is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Well, again, like what I was trying to say earlier, it's like Matt was diagnosed at 9, right? But
Yeah.
even then, like that was unusual. Like autism was not as spoken about then.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And I think now, A, there's more people, so there's a bigger chance of more people having autism, but also technology's grown so much that we're doing studies and people, once you get that first breakthrough, bit of
We're
information.
recognizing the signs more,
Right.
but I feel like also things in our society, like electronics and things, are maybe causing people to have more of these signs more. So I don't know. It's
Good
kind of a
point.
mixture of many things, really.
Yeah.
Next question. I have a tendency to hyper focus on specific tasks or activities.
Yes.
Strongly
Yeah.
agree. All right, moving
Yeah.
on. I prefer communicating in written form rather than verbally.
No.
All right, I'm glad we're all in agreement with that.
This is so crazy.
I have
Are
heightened
you me?
I mean,
Are you guys me?
am I me? Yes, I am me. Uh,
Mr. Meeseeks.
look at me. I have a heightened sensitivity to certain task textures or smells. Example, you don't enjoy sour or spicy foods.
No. False.
True, I don't
Disagree.
enjoy spicy or sour foods. So put me
Really?
yes on whatever that is.
Okay.
Yeah. Checkers fries don't count. That kind of spicy I like.
Well,
Ooh.
considering they're not spicy, that's not saying much.
They're spicy to
Zesty.
me.
Yes, you probably think black pepper is spicy. Yeah, a little bit. Okay. So what's interesting about this question is one of us disagreed, one of us agreed. I'm in the middle because there are some like specifically it listed an example of sour or spicy foods. I don't like sour foods, sour candies or anything like that. I do like spicy foods, but there are definitely like certain smells and textures that just throw me off. And it's like I notice them more than other people do, even though COVID took away my sense of smell. So I
Oh,
put
wait,
myself
is that still gone?
yes and no, it's changed. So when I first got COVID, I couldn't smell anything, and everything I tasted, I had sensation but not like flavor. So like maple syrup, sweet, did not taste like maple, right? That's the example I
Oh,
use. Couldn't smell it at all. Didn't smell like anything. Now I can smell it and I can taste it, but it's different from how it was. So
that sucks, dude.
That
but
must be so weird.
oh yeah, no. What's really interesting about that is I don't know what my wife smells like because when I first met her, I hadn't had COVID at that time. Within a month, I had COVID. A month, 2 months, doesn't matter. So I had only seen her like maybe a half dozen times at most, and then I got COVID. So I never really got close enough and was able to make that actual connection. I don't know what she smells like because I know she doesn't
Weird.
smell like how she's supposed to me because my sense of smell is still screwed up.
Yeah,
Right.
That's a weird sensation. That's a weird thought process.
that's weird.
Back to our quiz. I
Yes.
find it challenging to initiate or maintain friendships or relationships.
Big no
Disagree.
on that.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah,
no on that.
no.
Dating, biggest challenge of my life, but friendships, again, as a friendships oriented person, friendships are the easiest thing for me to
So
do.
would you actually be a somewhat agree then? Because it does say friendships or relationships.
Oh, okay. So then put a somewhat. The
Okay, so
ones that I
you're
do
Yeah.
somewhat.
agree
I
on is
disagree. Yeah.
friendships for me I can maintain, but yeah, dating is an atrocity.
Yeah.
What Matt said, yeah.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
guys are both somewhat agree. I'm disagree. In all of my relationships, as long as one of us makes the effort to reach out, I am terrible at reaching out to people and being like, "Hey, you want to do something?" But if anyone ever goes, "Hey, you want to do something?" I am there. 5 minutes, I'll be right over.
Gotcha. Quick question to everyone else. In life, you can be an individually focused person, friendships oriented person, a relationship like boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife oriented person, pets oriented person, family oriented person. Which one of all of those would you say that each of you is? I am a friendships-oriented person. Which one do you think you guys are?
Say the 5 again. I heard pets.
Yeah.
Individual-oriented, family-oriented, couple-oriented, friendships-oriented. Some people are pets-oriented people who love animals.
I guess I'm couple oriented because I have my one person and I
Couple-oriented?
do everything with my one person, and then I like to do stuff with other people, but it all comes back to my one person.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say pets, and not that I have one currently, but I'm basically this is the only time in my life I haven't had one. And yeah, so for, friends and pets, yeah, I'd say both of those.
Friends and pets.
Huh.
See, I would be. What's funny, what's sad really, is I am a couples-oriented person. Problem is, I've never really been in a couple before, relationship to be a couples-oriented person, and because my family is incredibly tiny, by default, and not really having a big enough family to be a family-oriented person or a relationship, I have now defaulted to just being a friendships-oriented person. That's kind of how I became a friendships-oriented person.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know?
Yeah. Just curious. Yeah, we can go to the next question. But yeah, I was just curious as to what you all are.
Well, listeners, you heard them. Leave your comment down below on what you are, what kind of relationship person you are.
Yes.
Who are you?
Next question. I enjoy spending time engaged in repetitive or specialized activities. Example, you like reading about a certain topic. I put
See, a
somewhat
lot of these
agree.
feel like repeat questions.
They are just
They
a different way of
are.
asking it.
I know.
So
I don't know why
like,
they do that.
Are they
Yeah.
trying to trick us?
No. I think it's literally because you can't get super specific with a questionnaire like this. This is just very surface level, just to
Very
give you an
general.
idea, right? Because that's why it says it's not a diagnosis. So I put somewhat agree because yes, I do enjoy repetitive. I listened to the song Billie Jean for 7 hours straight while cleaning my house about a month ago. And that was it. That's the only song I had playing, Michael Jackson's Billie Jean. And I just, as I was doing tasks, I needed something in my head as I was just getting thing done, just to help me like focus.
I have listened to Drops of Jupiter by Train for an hour solid. I've listened to The Circle of Life from Lion King for an hour solid. I can do things where I listen to the same song for an hour solid and it doesn't phase me.
Yeah.
She acts like summer and walks like rain.
Drops Jupiter in her hair. Hey.
What a good song.
So Scott, do you do that too? Do you listen to the same thing over and over again to get through tasks?
Yeah.
All right. I have a strong need for consistency in my routine. You tend to feel more relaxed when you're doing your usual routine. I somewhat agree with that.
100%.
No, 100% for you, Matt.
Yeah.
Word it again. Say the words
I have a
again.
strong need for consistency in my routine. You tend to feel more relaxed when you're doing your usual routine.
Yes. That's a yes.
Yeah. I tend to have difficulty understanding social cues and norms. Personally, I disagree with this. I feel like I get them all, but then again, I suppose part of autism is that you don't actually realize when you're not getting them all. So
Correct. I'm just gonna put somewhat agree. I'm gonna be in the middle there.
okay, Scott.
No, disagree.
Okay, all right. I have a
Okay.
strong attention to patterns or details in my environment.
Yes.
See, that sounds just like the question earlier. I forget which number it was, but
Oh, they're not even
like,
numbered on the test. But the one where it's like you notice specific details, is that the one you're talking
yeah,
about?
the one you were talking about, the guy dropping the vape, like
Yeah.
putting the vape down.
Yeah.
Same thing. Like, yeah, dude. I
So
check my pockets all the time.
I put strongly agree with that one myself. You find it challenging to multitask or switch between tasks or activities.
I do.
I'll put somewhat. Like I can, if it's within my routine to rotate that activity and say going to the gym. When I go to the gym, my routine is always abs workout, arms workout, sauna, shower, home. And it's like like when I'm rotating the activities, I'm rotating what I'm doing at the gym. I can rotate it pretty seamlessly because I've got my same exact routine. I do the same machines in the same order every time, and I go like that. So I would say somewhat.
Okay. Oh, that was the last question. Okay, so that's all the questions on here. So I got a 28. I was not actually filling this out for either of the other guys. If they want to fill it out, they can go fill it out themselves and get you a number later. I figured that'd be kind of
Maybe
rude
you
to
can
fill it
link
out for
that.
them. We'll link this in
For
the
the
show
viewers.
notes.
I think the show notes, and maybe Scott, you and me can take it ourselves, and then when we come back, our callback to this episode can be our numbers from last time, and we can compare them and contrast them to Daniel's.
Yeah, perfect.
Ooh, see who got the biggest, highest number.
All right.
Smallest number.
So
Who of the three of us is the most autistic?
Most autistic.
Oh.
Oh man, it would be so great if it wasn't me anymore.
Yeah, possibly that might be amazing.
That would be. I've made so much strides.
That might be the case with me.
Oh, all right.
You never know with
Oh
me.
man.
Wrap it up, Senor
Well,
Awesome.
Senor Possum, I'm going to wrap this up. So
Nice.
I actually have been taking a lot of points and notes the whole time that we've been doing this, but I've taken so many notes and so many things that both of y'all did. I can't for the life of me remember what points I gave for what things you did. But I will say that, Daniel, you did get 5 points for taking the initiative on finding that quiz and guiding us through the quiz the whole time. You got 5 points there. You got a point for Billie Jean. You got another couple of 1-pointers throughout the whole thing for various things you talked about or did or said. I cannot remember. And then, Scott, you got 3 points for sharing about the guy with autism, the story, and 40 years old, and whatever you were talking about there. You got a point for doing some dancing, doing some singing, and you also got another 3 points for, again, something you did or said or whatever in the thing. So our final count is Scott got 7 and Daniel got 9. So, Daniel, you are the winner and will be hosting our next segment.
Oh crap! I have to talk about my app now, don't I?
Now you got to talk about your game now. Yeah, you do.
All right, so I found this app. Oh wait, hang on. Let me start it. Okay, cool. I found an app called Atlas Earth. Earth, whatever. When you download it, you basically get to buy a piece of virtual land in real life. So I bought like a corner of my house, and it will sit there and it will make me money. And I'm sitting there looking at it. I've been doing the math on it. And if I keep going the way that I have, I will make an entire $5 by this time next year. Because even though you make money, you make basically nothing. It's 0.0000000. Was that 8 zeros? 8 zeros 1 1 for a piece of property. So yeah,
It's your property in real life.
It's my real life property, but virtually.
Wow, that's so cool.
So, like on a map,
So,
I can actually.
hey.
I just bought a square that represents an amount of space on my house. Like, if you go to Google Earth, and divide it up into little squares, that's exactly what you can buy.
Okay,
So you bought a square on your property in the game.
In the game, but it's virtually my property. In real life, yeah, because it like overlays.
Gotcha. So in real life, you own the whole property, obviously.
Yes,
yes.
yes.
But yes, in the game, that means own just the one square.
Right. That means that if you guys had the same app and you came over to my place, you could technically buy a square of my property virtually.
Actually.
Yeah.
We will be doing this.
Oh God.
Yeah. And you know what? You know which room I'm getting?
The bedroom?
The kitchen.
Why my kitchen?
It's the best part of anyone's house.
I call the beautiful back porch deck, so I can just sit in the chair and just enjoy the beautiful day.
Good luck. We'll see if I buy it first.
Right. Nice. Cool. I like that.
Well, this was a wonderful, very mind-opening, knowledge-sharing episode, very special episode on autism and how our brains work.
Yeah, me and Scott gotta go get tested, apparently.
Maybe we should.
Yep.
Yeah.
Should we all three get tested and see what the doctors say about me now?
Yes.
In comparison, when I was 10 years old, that's a big difference. You know, when you're a kid to when you're an adult's one thing, but 10 to 34, that's a big, massive gap. I mean,
it is.
Who knows what I would get? Yeah, we should all go get tested.
All right. If you guys like that, make sure to like, subscribe, follow, leave a comment. Anything else you could think of? Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Happy World Autism Awareness Day and happy World Autism Awareness Month.
Later. Thanks for hanging out with us and with Matt's Brain for Autism Awareness Month. We laughed, we learned, we might be getting tested for autism soon. Whether you're neurodivergent, neurotypical, or somewhere in between, we hope this episode brought a little more understanding to the table. And if you enjoyed this episode, leave a comment and let us know.